Call this committee of the whole meeting for May 21st, 2024 to order. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Alderman Yamas?
Here.
Alderwoman Garza? Here. Alderman Masiacos? Alderman Donnell?
Here.
Alderman Franco?
Here.
Alderman Seville?
Yes.
Alderman Tolliver?
Here.
Alderwoman Smith?
Here.
Alderman Bug?
Here.
Alderwoman Bade?
Here.
Alderman Lash?
Present.
Alderman Warman?
Here.
Mayor Evren is present.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of
So
May
moved.
7, 2024? Committee of the whole meeting, motion made by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries by voice vote. Mr. Muhammad.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, as you are probably aware, there's a thunderstorm warning. That thunderstorms are to hit the area after 7. So our EMA team and our entire City of Aurora team is on it. They'll keep us updated. We believe we're able to get through City Council, COW without hitting the storm. But we'll definitely make folks aware as we kind of go through the agenda tonight expeditiously. And now the time has been moved from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. So we should get everybody home safe. All right. For the mayor's report tonight, we're going to talk about heroes as we come on Memorial Day. 2 weeks ago, we honored a hero here at City Hall. Last week, a hero at school. And tonight we'll honor another hero. But let's take a quick look back at our heroes honors before we honor our hero tonight.
So thanks so much. Well, an Aurora man just got honored for saving lives for the second time just this year. How he says his love of superheroes keeps inspiring him to jump into action. Well, an Aurora City Hall staff member called a hero twice over is once again recognized by the city. 27-year-old Brian Moreno is a community engagement specialist. Back on April 27th, he performed CPR on a 63-year-old man who had collapsed at the top of a stairwell and lost consciousness during a neighborhood group meeting. As he received the mayor's award of excellence, Moreno said that he didn't have time to be scared. He just went into action.
Growing up, I always want to be a superhero, you know? Like, who wanted to be a superhero growing up in here? Everybody, you know? So I always looked up to Batman, you know? So I guess he's my idol to this day, you know? So I'm always on and about, and I'm glad to be in Aurora, doing what I do best.
Wow, he's channeling those superheroes for sure. Moreno was also honored back in January after getting people away from a gunman who came into the city's warming center. What? Oh my God, what a year for him. It's amazing. You know, Laura, in a time where we're always so...
Let's give a round of applause for our superhero, Brian. He's done great work. What we call intergenerational heroes here in Aurora. That was 2 weeks ago. Last week, the mayor was able to go and honor another hero who's dedicated 55 years to teaching.
Big surprise this morning for a suburban teacher. She's retiring after 54 years in the classroom. Aurora's Mayor Richard Irvin surprised Laura Wagner at a ceremony today at Holy Angels Catholic School. Now, Wagner has been teaching social studies since 1970. See her wiping away tears as the school honored her for her dedication to her students. Wagner says her retirement is bittersweet.
It's been a reason to get up every day. Our son died 30 years ago, and coming to Holy Angels was a good thing. It kept me going. I didn't sit around. And my husband died a couple of years ago. And so I've been coming here, and this gives me a reason for going on. I don't sit home and mope and complain. So I've really enjoyed it.
And she has brought so much joy to her students. She has been through a lot in those 54 years. In fact, Wagner says she is now teaching grandchildren of the students that she taught back in the 70s. The city of Aurora will honor her by renaming the block in front of Holy Angels School Laura Wagner Way. And how perfect is that? And hopefully she'll just keep coming back and visiting the kids.
A round of applause for Miss Laura Wagner. 54 years at Holy Angels, and 1 year before that she was assigned to St. Rita. So her 55-year career comes to a conclusion this Friday. And as the news report said, the mayor honored her with a proclamation of her day, and we will recognize the street on Kensington Place in her honor at the kickoff of the school year. And tonight, we honor yet another hero here in the city of Aurora, and this is why the news cameras are here, and so many others are here.
Today, a ceremony in Aurora to honor the Grand Marshal of the city's upcoming Memorial Day Parade. 97-year-old World War II hero Dick Miller will receive a mayoral proclamation and will be given his Grand Marshal sash. Miller is an Aurora native who barely survived a kamikaze attack on his naval ship in 1945. Look at that smile, though. Today's ceremony takes place at 5 o'clock at Aurora City Hall.
That's a great story,
isn't it?
Yeah.
97 years young, too.
Round of applause for Mr. Dick Miller. Listen, before we bring the mayor down, we had an opportunity to sit and talk with Mr. Miller this week as he prepares to lead the parade on Monday.
I've lived in Aurora since I was born in June 26, 1926. I joined the Navy after I graduated from East Aurora High School at 17 years old. Quit school, went into the services. They went to fight for their country. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, I was so glad to come home and marry my sweetheart, who I met in first grade at St. Paul's Lutheran School. And I've been here ever since, and I just love it here. It's totally a beautiful city. A lot of veterans from World War II down in Korea, Vietnam, and then over in the Middle East there. We just are like a clan, we stick together. Memorial Day is special to me. I think people don't appreciate it as much. They don't think about it. Think of all the young men that has died to fight for our liberty. And not only the young ones, the older men, during the war, they left their businesses, they left their families and children, and they were gone for years. So, and they gave everything they had. Some didn't come back.
A round of applause for our local hero. Mayor Irvin, if you can make your way down. You have your flag, City Council. You can wave your flags there. Mayor Irvin, if you can make your way down. Ladies and gentlemen, he was born on June 26, 1926. He graduated from East Aurora High School. He enrolled and enlisted in the United States Navy. His ship, the USS Drexler, was destroyed in 1945. And that's when he was one of 52 wounded, and he was in the Pacific Ocean for hours before he was rescued. And the war ended while he was recuperating, and he was honorably discharged in 1946, and he came back home here to Aurora for an amazing career in the U.S. Postal Service and a service to his country, and now serving his community. Another round of applause as he makes his way to Mr. Dick Miller.
All right. This proclamation is an honor for me to read today. For Richard Dick Miller Day, June 26. Whereas Dick Miller was born on June 26, attended St. Paul School and East Aurora High School. And whereas Dick Miller enlisted in the United States Navy in 1944 and was stationed in Pearl Harbor before being deployed on the destroyer ship, the USS Drexler. Whereas while the Pacific Ocean during the Battle of Okinawa, Dick Miller was on duty on the USS Drexler when it was destroyed by Kazakami planes on May 28, 1945, killing nearly 160 people on board. And whereas Dick Miller was among the 52 wounded as he was propelled into the ocean, keeping himself afloat for hours until he was rescued and sent to recover in a Pearl Harbor hospital. And whereas after he was discharged in 1946, Dick Miller returned home to Aurora to begin civilian life, where he married his high school sweetheart, Dorothy, and raised 2 children during his 3-decade-long career at the United States Post Office. And whereas Dick Miller is an active veteran who speaks frequently at local high schools and civic organizations about his experience and will serve as the 2024 Grand Marshal of Aurora Memorial Day Parade on May 27, 2024. Now I, therefore, Mayor Richard Irvin, recognize Dick Miller's service and sacrifice to our country and our community, and do hereby proclaim his birthday, June 26th, as Richard Dick Miller Day in the city of Aurora from this day forward.
Big round of applause for Mr. Dick Miller. Before we hear from Mr. Miller, we're going to ask that everyone be seated so the cameras have a clear shot of him. Thank you. And we would like to honor you, Mr. Miller, with your Grand Marshal sash. Another round of applause as he leads the Memorial Day Parade on Monday as Grand Marshal. 97 years old. He'll be 98 this year on Dick Miller Day, June 26, 2024. We'll take a picture. Turn towards the camera, and we have. You turn towards the camera, Mr. Miller. You have any comments? Right there.
I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be here tonight, and I can't believe it. I'd ever be in a situation like this. It's just wonderful, and I appreciate it so much. I don't, whoever got me this, to get into this situation, so I thank everybody, and especially the mayor. I've been in a lot of parades and so forth, and I enjoy, the flag. I love my American flag. God bless America.
Let's give Dick Miller a
round of applause. All right.
Come on, we can do a little bit better than that. We got a World War II hero here in the house, leading our parade.
If we can be seated, so we can take a photo and get a clear shot. Again, Mr. Miller will lead the Memorial Day Parade at 10 a.m. on Monday. There will be a reception in his honor at 9 a.m. at the GAR Memorial Hall. He is not only a war hero, he served our country, he serves our community as well. And we love you tremendously, Mr. Miller. Another round of applause for the legend, Dick Miller. And now, one second. Mr. Miller pulled me aside before it began. He said, I'd like to do something at the end of my speech, and I want to sing God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
One more standing ovation for the local legend, Mr. Dick Miller. June 26th, Dick Miller Day in the city of Aurora from this year forward. Come on out on Monday as we honor those who paid the ultimate price in war by those who survived and all of the generations thereafter. One more round of applause for Mr. Dick Miller.
After I got out of high school, I left for Great Lakes, and I met my friend. I'd never met him, but we made friends. It was Al McCoy. He later became mayor of Aurora. And we were two just young 17-year-old guys on going on this, because they were filled up. They sent us out to Farragut, Idaho. Same clothes and everything on for 9 days. Didn't feed us much, but we got there and we were all right. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We'll see you on Monday morning, 9 a.m. or special reception, 10 a.m. the parade, as he will lead it in a very special vehicle that we have for him. Thank you, Mr. Miller. In the second part of the mayor's report will be given by the mayor.
Once again, sir, thank you very much for your service to our country. Thank you for everything you've been and done for the city of Aurora. As we talk about representing our country and supporting our citizens here in the city of Aurora, today I think I need to speak on the apparent dysfunction of an overriding concern with our U.S. Census Bureau. The most recent population estimates from the U.S. Census Bureau are just as flawed and erroneous as the reported 2020 census counts. Census Bureau data from 2020 shows nationwide undercounts, and to use those incorrect numbers to offer further estimates is absolutely absurd. We know that Aurora didn't experience a loss of 17,000 residents in 2020, and we reject the notion that we lost an estimated 3,000 more people over the last 3 years. This is why we are absolutely pursuing a special census recount. Although the process to do so has been arduous at best, the U.S. Census Bureau errors an apparent lack of concern for expediency in remedying those errors which disproportionately impact minority and low-income communities, is a national travesty that has dire consequences. Aurora has lost millions of dollars per year since 2020 census and continue to lose millions while we jump through hoops and cut through red tape in the special census process. The U.S. Census Bureau must be held accountable. It should cease issuing estimates until it first rectifies the results of the 2020 census by working in collaboration with impacted cities like Aurora, Illinois, to do so. As the representative of the residents of Aurora, I am extremely disappointed, thoroughly disgusted, and ultimately dismayed with the U.S. Census Bureau. The gravity of this situation cannot be underestimated. I am calling on the U.S. Census Bureau to be more responsible and a professional partner in this process. Our residents, our citizens of Aurora deserve that much. This time, we will go on to our staff report. And I believe the staff report this evening is the Aurora Youth Council presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pranett Swain. I'm this year's chairman for the Aurora Youth Council, and on behalf of all of us, I can't even begin to tell you how excited we are to not only share our last years of accomplishments, but also our vision for what lies ahead. And now I'll let everybody else introduce themselves.
Okay. Hello, I'm Jensen Coonrad. I led the STEM initiatives of the Aurora Youth Council this year. I'm from Oswego East High School.
My name is Sarah Ramos. I've led mental health initiatives in the AYC, and I'm from IMSA.
Hello, my name is Brittany Chavarria, and I'm from East Aurora High School.
Hi, my name is Julian Mendoza, and I go to Aurora Central Catholic High School. Hello, my name is Adwick Panda, and I go to Matia Valley High School.
Hi, my name is Jersey Kimbrough, and I go to West Aurora High School.
Okay, so we're gonna be talking about some of the events we have done. One of the most important ones that we have done is the Youth Summit, where we, as Aurora schools, we came together to talk about things that the community needed, things that us as teens needed, and also we talked about mental health and opportunities for us as young teens. It was about 8 schools, 5 guest speakers, and over 100 students, and it was a great opportunity for us as teens to talk to each other and see what common problems we had and how could we find solutions about them.
So the Financial Literacy Initiative, it's an AYC initiative that's been the product of 2 years of incredible persistence and hard work by 2 members, Gowrie and Alicia, who unfortunately could not make it today, along with the organization How Money Works. And after 2 years of, I really mean it when I say very hard work, there's a lot of challenges they face in this process, trying to find the right organization and whatnot. They're able to set up an event last Sunday at Santori Library with 2 speakers, and there's another event in the works this August, specifically with Wabanzi and Matia Valley High School to provide in-school mentoring for local financial literacy at the youth level.
We also worked with NAMI DuPage to spread awareness about youth mental health, and this project was a continuation of last year where we had students participate in a competition where they wrote about their experiences with mental health. So we compiled a booklet of 8 of the winners, and we were able to print that and send it to our participants. And I just wanted to read a little bit of the feedback that we got from our student participants. One of our participants said, "I really like the topic for this year. Silencing the stigma, especially in communities of color, is very important to me." Someone else said, "No matter what happens, this contest was really eye-opening and allowed me to really dive deep into myself and learn new things about myself." So this is obviously very important for raising awareness about the rising problem of youth mental health, and hopefully that we can continue to partner with NAMI DuPage to do more projects like this.
We've also done some great work with expanding access to STEM education throughout our community, especially students that are typically underrepresented in the STEM field. We worked to host a Thanksgiving event for underserved students who couldn't otherwise afford a Thanksgiving meal. And at this event, we were able to bring robots and other great STEM crafts and opportunities to these students, allowing them to engage with engineering and see themselves in this field. We also created and distributed free STEM kits to Aurora community members at events like the Aurora City of Lights Festival. Currently, we've created and distributed 150 free BristleBot STEM kits to students who are so excited to make these amazing crafts. And we're working to create 300 more STEM kits to distribute at other community events.
Another one of the AYC's initiatives has been the Better Employment Outcomes Initiative, which is something that me as well as another fellow AYC member, Giancarlo Ortega, who couldn't be here today, have been running for the last year. And basically, the aim of the initiative has been to try and connect local students with summer internships and research opportunities that will help them not only now, but for beyond school, whether that's in college or whether they're pursuing something besides a secondary education. And by working with students to create, things like personalized resumes and cold emails, along with professors, nonprofits, and business organizations, we've been able to help we've been able to help nearly 50 students locally find internships at 30 locations. And I'll hand it out to Audrey to talk more about future plans for the program.
Looking into the future, most of the opportunities we have been able to facilitate so far have been remote with organizations that don't have as much of an investment in Aurora, the city. So we would also love to have your help in facilitating more paid opportunities in order to accommodate many local students who can't afford to take unpaid opportunities over the summer.
We're always working on doing new events and expanding our impact throughout the community. One thing we're excited to host next year is a Aurora-based robotics competition, where students who may not traditionally have access to these robotics resources can compete completely for free, and we'll provide them with the robotics education, training, and resources they need to engage in this exciting opportunity next year.
We also want to host the Aurora Area Youth Exchange, where we bring students from different schools and we have them do kind of a day in life in each other's schools and really be able to understand where we come from and understand our fellow students in other areas. We also wanted to expand more on Mental Health Awareness Month. This is always a pressing topic, and being able to work with NAMI and other mental health organizations in the future.
Hi, Simon Rodriguez. I'm the liaison for this amazing group. I just want to say really quickly, it's about them, it's not about me, but I just want to recognize that we are unfortunately losing 6 of our seniors because they are moving on to bigger and amazing things, but they have assured me they're coming back to Aurora. So we'll hold them to that. But I just want you all to know that these are the institutions in which our brilliant seniors will be attending in the fall. We have Marquette, NIU, U of I Urbana-Champaign, Michigan, Princeton, and MIT. Wow. So I think that deserves a round of applause.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Mayor, if you can come down for a group picture with the students. Students, if you come to the center, picture with the mayor. Another round of applause for the Aurora Youth Council. Doing amazing work, headed off to school.
You know, let me just say, you know, before we take this picture, that when my administration first created the Aurora Youth Council, I had no idea, none of us had any idea how successful it would be. But because we have the best and the brightest in the city of Aurora, and our young people are so talented, they made their council the best it could be. So I don't know if other cities are listening and paying attention. This is exactly how it's done. Let's give them another round of applause.
Thank you to the Aurora Youth Council on a great year.
Applause for our young people. Makes Aurora proud. Let me tell you, folks, young people from the Aurora Youth Council, you continue to make us proud here in the city of Aurora. And after you're done with your school, wherever you go to school at, we're looking for you to come back here and be leaders and continue to move Aurora forward. All right, so this is where we're probably going to start the regular portion of our business. You know, many people were here for the presentations and awards. To see Mr. Dick Miller. So before we start the regular portion of our agenda, I'll give everyone an opportunity to file out for those that can't stay. Now, I'm happy to have you stay and have you participate in our whole meeting, but I know some of you have to go, so I'll give you a few minutes. Now, the media back there has to head out too, so I'll give you a few minutes to file out. All right, seems like those folks that had to leave have left the city council chambers, and the ones that will stay with us are present in their seats. So I will go on to public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to offer public comment?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
All right, then let's go on to the next portion of our agenda, committee reports. Chairwoman Patty Smith, can you give the Building, Zoning, Economic Development Committee report, please?
I certainly will. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Building, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee met on May 15th, 2024, and reviewed the following items. 24-0305, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agency agreement with the State of Illinois Department of Transportation, Division of Aeronautics, and a not-to-exceed agreement for construction phase engineering service in the amount of $152,000 with Crawford Murphy and Tilly Incorporated for the Rehabilitate Auto Parking Lots and Entrance Road Project ARR 4544 located at the Aurora Municipal Airport.
Consent.
No objection, this item will go on consent.
Item number 240361, a resolution authorizing and directing the filing of a written protest to Kane County to represent to the special use petition filed by RPIL Solar 10 LLC for a community solar facility along the west side of Barnes Avenue north of the BNSF Railroad in Sugar Grove Township.
Consent.
We want to make it very clear that this in no way, shape, or form has any position against solar energy. It's just not an appropriate use for that land. Next item was
Unfinished, Mr. Mayor.
Unfinished. Before we put on, just so everybody's clear and understanding what exactly this is, can someone from staff explain what this item is?
Evening, Mr. Mayor. Ed Sieben, Zoning and Planning Director. As mentioned at the BZE meeting last week, this is to request a written protest of a Kane County zoning petition. It's a special use in Kane County for a solar community solar facility that is virtually completely surrounded by the city of Aurora with residential development. We had discussions with the petitioner back in January and indicated this was not an appropriate spot. Like the mayor said, we said the city did support solar, not in this particular location. So what would happen is if this does get approved, the written protest by city council, it would force a supermajority vote by the Kane County Board. My understanding is this, and that's a 2/3 vote. My understanding is this will go to a public hearing at Kane County with their zoning board on June 11th.
So just so we're all clear, there's a piece of property that is surrounded by City of Aurora corporate limits. However, that piece of property is not incorporated into the city yet.
Correct.
However, if it was developed for whatever residential, since residence is all around it, then it would automatically be
We would annex it as
annexed into the City of Aurora.
Yes.
And the owner, the private owner, wants to sell it to a company to put solar panels on the ground right in the middle of a residential
Correct.
community
Correct.
that would normally be annexed if it were developed as residential, which
Correct.
normally we would have that particular piece of property developed as residential based on its location.
Yes, sir.
And in our master plan, is it identified as residential?
Yes, our master plan, and we did a special countryside vision plan back in the 2000s, and it was a joint effort with multiple government jurisdictions and the Conservation Foundation and so on. So, and we've already done 4 or 5 subdivisions out there over the last 20 years that incorporate that.
All right, any question based on that? Alderman Lesh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Sieben. In the memo here to the Alderman, it mentions utilities that we've paid for in that area. Can you be specific in what infrastructure we have out there along Barnes Road?
We ran water down Barnes Road to serve the Linden Estates subdivision, which is on Prairie Street. And I believe there's also sanitary sewer. I'm not sure if anyone here from Public Works, but I believe there's also sanitary sewer that runs down there.
And then all of our...
And I do see the nodding head of someone from Public Works back there in the back, brother. So you just want to confirm that,
Yeah.
just so,
Yes.
because I see your nodding head, so yes.
Yes, okay, thank
We
you.
do have sanitary and sewer out there.
Yeah.
And then Linden Oaks and First Progressive Baptist, all those mentioned in the application are utilizing those infrastructure currently, correct?
They're annexed to the city and utilizing.
So we would have had to have run them anyway for the parts that were annexed.
Correct, but we are able to serve this property for development.
Correct.
Yes.
And then is there any plans to annex this? Because I'm not aware of any plans to annex this property, or do we have a developer interested?
Well, just talk about our master plan.
So the master plan shows this area for high-quality residential, which is what we did elsewhere in the area. So we would annex it most likely for that kind of use.
Okay, I did read it, but we are not annexing, nor do we have plans to annex it.
For the solar farm, no.
Correct.
Not for the solar farm.
Correct.
But for residential, we do.
Correct.
But, Mr. Mayor, we do have a solar farm going up out by our airport.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
We have
so-
acres and acres, of solar going out by our airport, right?
And that's city property.
Yeah, city-owned property.
Okay, I'd like to put it on unfinished.
Unfinished.
I'll be a no on this, thank you.
Alderman Seville?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. I have a question. The property is a little bit over 40 acres, is that correct?
Correct.
And does the city of Aurora surround it on 3 sides?
3 sides, correct. To the east is the King County Forest Preserve, and there's a small church that's unincorporated.
Well, isn't there a clause that says if we're surrounded by property that's less than 60 acres on 3 sides, we could forcibly annex it?
We have to surround it on 4 sides. And be less
You
than
sure it's
60
4
acres.
sides? I thought it was 3 sides.
I believe it's 4.
Could we look into that for the city council meeting tomorrow, next week?
And that's forcibly. However, if any development based on our master plan, which will be residential, it would automatically be annexed into the
Because
city.
it would have to be, rely on city utilities, correct?
All right, thank you. But just please find that information out so we can confirm that for Alderman Seville. All right, any other questions? Thank you very much, Unfinished.
All right, item number 240333, a resolution approving the final plot for Prairie Meadows subdivision located at the north side of Prairie Street, west of North Kingsway Drive. And lastly, 24-0334, a resolution approving the final plot for Prairie Meadows subdivision located at the north side of Prairie Street, west of North Kingsway Drive. And Mr. Mayor, that is all we have for the BZ&E report.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Chairman Franco, can you give the Finance Committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Committee met on May 16th, 2024, reviewed the following items. 23-0870, resolution authorizing payment to FH Passion, SN Nielsen Associates LLC for repairs to the structure at 35 North Broadway, Aurora, Illinois, in the amount of $759,445.78. Last year it was discovered that deteriorating masonry was a safety hazard from that building. Through the JOC program, FH Passion was utilized to remedy the emergency situation. Upon assessing the situation, it was determined that additional work was necessary to the structure.
Consent.
No objections, item go on consent.
Next one is 24-0076, a resolution authorizing the City of Aurora to enter in a crossing surface installation agreement with BNSF Railway Company for improvements of the crossing of Indian Trail and the BNSF Railroad. There are a few funding sources with this, with the federal government providing 80% of the costs. And you will hear a reoccurring theme throughout this about the federal government, which we really like. 24-0221, a resolution authorizing the sale of obsolete and surplus property using J.J. Kane Auctioneers.
No
We've used
objections, item go on
J.J.
consent.
from Beloit, Wisconsin for a number of years successfully. The auctions are open to the public and conducted via the internet.
No objections, item go on consent.
Next is 24-0308, a resolution authorizing the execution of a joint funding agreement with the state of Illinois, the execution of Phase 2 engineering agreement with Baxter and Woodman Incorporated, in a not-to-exceed amount of $70,476, and the appropriation of $70,476 of MFT funds for the South Edgelon Drive at BNSF Railroad Tracks Crossing Project. Federal funding up to 90% was approved for the initial cost, up to $490,680. The cost estimate rose dramatically due to the BNSF additional requirements, and hence the city will be looking for additional federal funding.
No objections, item go on consent.
Next one is 24-0341, a resolution awarding the McCoy Drive and Cheshire Drive traffic signal installation project construction to H&H Electric Company of Franklin Park, Illinois, for the amount of $520,195.62 and the appropriation of motor fuel tax funds.
No objections, item go on consent.
Next is 24-0342, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute Phase 3 construction engineering agreement with HR Green Incorporated and appropriation of motor fuel tax funds for McCoy Drive and Cheshire Drive traffic signal installation project.
No objections, item go on consent.
Next is 24-0343, a resolution authorizing the execution of a Phase 1 preliminary engineering agreement with Stanley Consultants Incorporated in a not-to-exceed amount of $189,555, and the appropriation of $189,555 of MFT funds for the East New York Street, North Farnsworth Avenue intersection improvement project. Stanley was determined to be the most qualified of the bidders. Federal funding up to $676,000 is allocated for the estimated total cost of $1.5 million.
No objections, item go on consent.
Next is 24-0347, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Aurora and the Wheatland Township Road District for the resurfacing of Wolf's Crossing Road. This will allow for the city to resurface Wolf's Crossing in the area under Wheatland Township's district, with the township to reimburse the city for its cost.
No objections, item go on consent.
24-0348, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Aurora and the Sugar Grove Township Road District for the resurfacing of Prairie Street. This is similar to the last item, with Sugar Grove Township agreeing to pay their share of the work done on the township portion if necessary. Federal funds could cover all costs, but have not been officially approved.
No objections, item go on consent.
A resolution 24-0358, a resolution authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the Forest Preserve District of Will County, City of Aurora, and Wheatland Township Road District for the Phase 1 engineering services for the construction of multi-use path along Wolf's Crossing Road located in the City of Aurora and the Wheatland Township, Will County, Illinois. The Phase 1 engineering cost will be a 50-50 split between the city and the Will County Forest Preserve District. This total project cost is federally funded with an 80-20 split. Our local 20% share will be reduced by the amount of the Lincoln Prairie Development Land Cash Park contribution.
Alderman Lesh.
I have no problem putting this on consent, but for the last three agenda items, when we enter into these intergovernmental agreements, who has the final say on which tabulation of bids is accepted to complete the work?
This is Public Works. With this, Mr. Bauer.
Good evening, Jason Bauer, Department of Public Works. Each MOU could be different depending which party is charged with that task and who's running the contract. In this case, it would be the Forest Preserve.
Consent.
No objections, item go on
you.
consent.
Next one is 24-0363, a resolution authorizing renewal of a line of credit in the amount of $10 million from Old Second National Bank for a one-year term expiring on June 30th, 2025.
Unfinished.
Unfinished.
Next one is 24-0364, a resolution authorizing the execution of a local public agency agreement number 1 with the state of Illinois, the execution of Phase 1 preliminary engineering supplement with Baxter & Woodman Incorporated in the not-to-exceed amount of $24,301, and the appropriation of $21,391 of MFT funds for the South Edgelon Drive at BNSF Railroad Tracks Crossing Project. This supplement is eligible for federal funds up to 90%. The city will front fund the costs with a 90% reimbursement, hence our actual total cost will be $2,430.
With no objections, item go on consent.
Next one is 24-0365, a resolution authorizing execution of a Phase 2 design engineering supplement with Stanley Consultants Incorporated in the not-to-exceed amount of $37,646 and the appropriation of $80,000 of Rebuild Illinois bond funds for the Indian Trail Signal Edgelon to Highland project. Again, there are a few funding sources, with the federal government providing 80% for a total of $3.8 million.
No objections, item go on consent.
Next one is 24-0366, a resolution authorizing the future execution of Phase 3 construction engineering services supplement with H.R. Green Incorporated in the not-to-exceed amount of $100,000 and the appropriation of $1,540,000 of Rebuild Illinois bond funds for the Indian Trail Road Reconstruction High Street Intersection Project. Again, a number of funding sources are in play, with the federal funds of between 75 to 100% eligible. Approximately $6.5 million of federal funding has already been secured.
No objections, item go on consent.
Next one is 24-0371, an ordinance amending the annual budget for the fiscal year January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2023. Amendment number 2 for the 2023 fiscal year.
Unfinished.
Unfinished.
Next one is 24-0376, a resolution transferring the Finish Line Grant Program and allocated funds to Invest Aurora to provide incentives for the recruitment, expansion, and upgrade building stock to businesses throughout the city of Aurora. $375,000 will be available as of June 1st, with Invest Aurora receiving an additional $90,000 to administrative purposes. The program will now allow for all businesses in Aurora to be eligible, as opposed to only those in the downtown area previously.
Mr. Debo.
Thank you. Good evening. David Debo, Director of Economic Development.
Mayor's Office of Economic Development. Just want to introduce this item, and it'll be discussed more by Loretta Daly over at Invest Aurora. A quick history, this program, the Finish Line Grant Program, has traditionally been something that was administered by Invest Aurora. A couple of years ago, there was some transition going on in Invest Aurora, and during that time, for temporary basis, the city took it over, so we would have continuity in continuing these grants. After this time, Invest Aurora has restructured, and we are now bringing the program back to Invest Aurora.
Ms. Daly?
Good evening. Thank you. Loretta Daly, Acting President and CEO of Invest Aurora. We've worked really hard with MOED to review not only the program as it was established historically at Invest Aurora, but also as the city took it back. We wanted to make sure that we were taking both of our experiences, or all of our experiences, and putting forward the best program possible. So what you see before you tonight is a collaborative process between MOED and Invest Aurora to reshape the, I'm sorry, I'm from Oak Park, I was going to say Frank Lloyd Wright, Finish Line Grant Program, and to support moving it back over to Invest Aurora. There's a few changes that I did want to point out. As David mentioned, geographically, it would be available to all businesses throughout the city of Aurora. The grants last year were up to $100,000. There's not as much funding this year, so we're recommending a cap of $50,000. We are going to be requiring that recipients actually generate retail sales tax, because that comes back to the city. So what we are doing is actually helping to generate increased retail sales tax. The grant period previously was open. Again, we have a smaller amount of money, so what we wanted to do was to restrict that open period for a month's period of time, go through the process of evaluation and approval, and then see where we're at with the budget. We are hopeful that actually we will have a number of different applicants, and that the monies will be well spent this year. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions? Alderman Lash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure who the question is for, but if we move this money over to Invest Aurora, then the council loses all oversight. Is that accurate?
The approval process would run through the Invest Aurora board. The city does have representation on my board.
But the council loses approval process. Thank you. I'd like to put it on unfinished.
Any other questions? And just to be clear, how long has this program existed?
Oh, gosh, I want to say at least 10, 12 years.
And in the 10, 12 years, how long has it been with Invest Aurora?
About 11 of those years.
All right. And it's just based on, as you pointed out, Mr. Debo, the change in leadership years ago to keep consistency. We just held on to it for a little while.
Correct. And we just collaborate. We just work very closely together on what's eligible and suggestions we have and so on, and it will just continue the same way it's always been.
And now with the new leadership and the stability at Invest Aurora, we want to put it back where it has rested for almost 11 years.
Where it was. They're just much more geared up than we are to do this kind of work.
Thank you. Any other questions? None? Unfinished. Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, the Finance Committee also discussed item number 24-0339, which is under the new business section of this agenda. And Mr. Mayor, that concludes the finance report.
Thank you very much. Chairman Seville, can you give the Public Health, Safety, and Transportation Committee report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The PHS&T Committee met on May 14th, 2024, and reviewed the following item, 24-0266, a resolution establishing the maximum number of licenses for tattoo and body art establishments in the city of Aurora, in accordance with Chapter 25, Article 11, Tattoo and Body Art Establishments.
Unfinished.
This is the first, I'm sorry?
Go ahead. Just, we'll put on. Go ahead.
Okay. This is the first step of a three-step process. This is to expand the licenses for these establishments from 4 to 5. And if the council approves, the next step would be to go on and approve the 559 High Street address, which is what this could be if the council expands it. Any questions?
Alderman Franco.
So this when you read that, you don't, I read it, I didn't really get that it was going in a particular place. I knew it was increasing. So when we do something like this, obviously we have parameters from tattoo parlor to tattoo parlor. But did we also talk to the alderman of that ward about the appropriateness of the position of it? I know we have rules and regulations where it can and can't go, but sometimes there's more areas that are more appropriate than others to go. And typically, and I would like to think all the geographic aldermen on the same page, that certain things belong in certain spots and maybe not others. So I just didn't know if that was discussed with Alderman Yamas from the first ward about where they would go. And I'm not sure who would have been dealing with that from the staff or whatever.
Well, I just want to have, if Alderman Thomas, if you don't mind, if you want to, comment on that. If otherwise, it's put on consent. But well, I'm sorry, unfinished. Did you want to say anything?
Do you want me
about
to answer that question? I mean,
yeah, sure.
I can answer the question. No,
Yeah.
I was not asked prior to today, really.
And
I spoke with staff earlier today. We discussed some things. Staff is going to look into a zoning question I had and get back to me, but I still have some reservations about this, so I still want it unfinished. And we'll see what happens next week.
Just so we're aware, what are those reservations so everybody's on the same page?
Well, it has to do primarily with its location. I understand that today we're voting on the number of licenses, but attached to our agenda item is a copy of the application with the High Street address, as is also reflected in the attached map that shows the current 4 licensees that are all located in areas or in properties that are zoned as business classification, whereas this one is going to be in R2 residential, smack in the middle of a residential neighborhood. So that's my opposition to this. I'm probably going to keep that same opposition next week. Want everyone to be aware of that. But that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions? Alderman
Yes.
Bug?
Thank you for sharing that, Alderman Franco. I believe over a year ago, when we started taking some of these things back from the council, that they would be reviewed at a later time, we instilled that the ward alderman would receive notice on liquor, tobacco, cannabis, and when we changed the tattoo parlors, tattoos. So my understanding is you should have been informed, at least given notice that that was happening during the process. So if that didn't happen, I believe that went against something that we set up many months ago.
You asking a question?
I'm making a statement.
All right.
Well, can someone from staff, though, confirm, is that part of the process just for this agenda item that the ward alderman would have been notified as this exists now in our ordinance?
Good afternoon, Alex Voigt with the Mayor's Office. I am looking in the ordinance, and I'd like to take a closer look at it because I'm not pulling up that specific section right now. So with it being unfinished, I'm happy to report on that next week.
And just so we're all clear, everybody's on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
make sure we list the things that we determine based on Alderman Bug's point, which I believe, I don't know if I was an alderman at that time or mayor already. Was I the mayor? That all the things that are required, and if this is for some reason something that needs to be added to that list, we'll talk about it.
Sure.
We'll talk about it then. But just make sure we list all those things that Alderman Bug identified that were the things that used to be on, but it was government operations back then. That we determined that since we took it out of government operations and made it administrative, what are those things the aldermen need to be immediately notified on?
Okay.
All right. And if this is not one of them, that's fine, but we'll talk about whether or not it should be in the future.
Okay.
Alderman, who asked it? Alderman Lesh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One other, criteria, there were 3 criteria I think that you mentioned that
Yes.
needed to be satisfied, but I got to thinking about it after the PHST committee meeting. One of those criteria is that we all support it. And so to me, until there is a final approval vote, all 3 criteria have not been met. That's my interpretation of that ordinance.
So just to be clear, the 3 things that I laid out for the PHST committee was the history and the background of the tattoo ordinance revisions. It was not the criteria, it was the 3 steps that were undertaken from late 2023 into 2024 to establish the new processes and procedures. The criteria are the requirements in the application, which that's laid out in the code. So that was just background for the committee, not the actual criteria.
Thank you. And to be clear, that's an incorrect recitation of the understanding of it. As Alderman Bug pointed out, it was supposed to be the ward alderman, not all of us. You know, all the aldermen. If there is an issue, and I'm not saying tattoo parlors are part of it,
right.
But whatever those establishments are that did become administrative, the ward alderman was supposed to be given notice to weigh in, yes or no, if there was an issue on it. But we'll bring that information back. We'll talk
Yep.
about it next week.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, so that's unfinished. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that Member Seville?
And that's the report from the PHS committee.
Thank you very much, guys. Sorry. Chairwoman Wadi Garza, can you give the Infrastructure and Technology Committee report, please?
Yes, Mayor. We met on May 13. The first item, 23-1002, a resolution authorizing the remediation of asbestos for the city-owned property located on 22 West Park Place and 817 Forest Avenue.
No objections, I'm going consent.
24-0292, a resolution authorizing the execution of Phase 3 construction engineering agreement with Armor Roderick and the not-to-exceed amount of $181,368 for the 2024 citywide resurfacing project.
No objections, I'm going consent.
24-0310, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of bid pricing from various contractors from landscape and moving maintenance for multiple park locations for 1-year contract with 2 optional 1-year extension upon mutual consent.
Unfinished.
Unfinished.
24-0312, a resolution authorizing repair service for river intake pump number 4 for the Water Production Division and an amount not to exceed $55,203 for Lane Christensen Company, Aurora, Illinois.
No objections, I'm going consent.
24-0338, a resolution authorizing a contract with the Fairground Engineering and Environmental to provide construction engineering services for various underground utility improvements projects during the 2024 construction season, an amount not to exceed $177,000.
No objections, I'm going consent.
24-0340, a resolution to award the Lebanon Street and Pearl Street sewer separation project located in Ward 3 and 4 to Benchmark Construction Company, Inc., to the bid amount $988,000.00.
No objections, I'm going consent.
And they conclude the meeting, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Chairman Ron Warman, can you give the Rules Administration Procedure Committee report, please?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Rules Administration and Procedures Committee was scheduled to meet May 7th, 2024. However, there were no items on the agenda, so therefore the meeting was canceled.
Thank you much. That concludes committee reports. Let's go on to new business. Madam Clerk, can you read the first item under new business?
24-0339, a resolution authorizing the execution of a redevelopment agreement providing for the conveyance of city-owned property located at 7 South Broadway, a city grant in the amount of $413,547, and a forgivable loan in the amount of $413,547 to Frontier Development LLC, owned by Conrad and Kurt Hurst, in partnership with the restaurateurs Chris and Megan Curran, proprietors of Graceful Ordinary in St. Charles.
Mr. Debo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we're on new business, but you were kind enough to hear us earlier. Thank you, aldermen and alderwomen. Thank you to all the staff that has worked so hard on this. Alex Alexandru, the mayor, Chris Minnick, and all the staff at MOED, Trevor Dick, and some of the other people you meet tonight. As was just said, this resolution seeks the approval of really 2 things. One is the right to sell the building at 7 South Stope to Frontier Development and the partnership with the proprietor of the Graceful Ordinary Restaurant in St. Charles. And the second is to provide a stimulus, an inducement, or an incentive in the form of a grant and a forgivable loan. I would like to introduce some of the people that are here tonight from the people that are purchasing this and are going to run this restaurant. Kurt Hurst, and they're going to come up later on in the presentation. We have Kurt Hurst, who is a highly successful real estate entrepreneur and a civic leader in St. Charles, an environmentalist. Conrad Hurst, his son, who works day to day, and I've worked very closely with to get this deal done. Chris Curran, who is the chef at the Graceful Ordinary, has owned restaurants, including one in Chicago, a well-known visionary, and his wife, Megan Curran, who's the event manager at the Graceful Ordinary and has almost 20 years' experience in the hospitality business. We first met this team when we were over at the restaurant when Trevor Dick was honored as Kane County Planner of the Year, and they had a celebration over there, and that's when we first met them, and we were wowed by the restaurant, and over the last year spent a lot of time with them. They are people that will fit in very well to this city. They are very much like the people in the city, vibrant, diverse, and quite interesting. We're going to, just the way the night is going to work out is I'm going to first introduce Alex Minella, our well-known Italian Epicurean, who we think is appropriate to give this introduction. He's going to talk about the status quo of this property, a little bit of the history, and put some things in context. Then we're going to have the team come up and speak about the concept, the restaurant, and so on. And then I'm going to come back and speak some details about the numbers and so on. So with that, I'm going to ask my friend Alex to come up.
Now, as Alex steps up, I believe we have another Italian in here that wants to speak up,
Well,
Carl Franco.
No, I'm not going there yet. I just want to clarify something for the record. When you read the introduction, you said 7 South Stolp, rather, 7 South Broadway.
Oh, Broadway, I'm
Yeah, I just
sorry.
wanna-
Yep,
just
I'm
for the
sorry.
record, I just want to throw it there.
That's all you
I'll
want to
save
say
my
at this point,
Italian
brother.
stuff for later on.
Stand corrected, stand corrected.
I know it's coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Council members, Honorable Mayor, good evening. Alex Minella, Senior Planner with the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. Before we jump into the discussion, I'd like to share with you a brief overview of the Downtown Master Plan for Aurora that was approved in 2017, just for reference and context for the discussion.
Do we have this in there? Mayor, do we have these packets, do we have it in our?
The
Is it on
Downtown
our-
Master Plan approved in
All right.
2017 is currently available on the city's website, and I will be more than happy to share a copy with you via PDF, via email. So, before you tonight is an admirable opportunity to collectively discuss a development that will significantly contribute in changing Aurora. We are placemaking Aurora locally, regionally, internationally. We are enriching the landscape of hospitality businesses, a key to support our own Paramount theaters and boost attractiveness. For some reason, the remote control doesn't. Okay, here we go. The property depicted in these two pictures historically was used to be a cigar shop, then a bank, and for the past decades or so, a city-owned building and an art gallery, which is an integral part of the long-term plans depicted in the Bondi's renderings that are before you. I share with you copies of the Downtown Master Plan. This is the culmination of the planning activity matured thus far. So the landscape of restaurants, and again, these are a few other renderings from the Downtown Master Plan, as you can see depicted and contoured by the yellow line. The following picture puts, again, the property subject to our discussion tonight in context. If technology could help. Okay. As you see, this property was envisioned to be vibrant, to be populated by different visitors, and you see art, you see colors, you see people coming and going left and right. How exciting. So, but let's put this in context and look at the big pictures. The landscape of restaurants and retail shops is richer than ever before. We helped shape it. We are working together on placemaking Aurora, making it attractive and a destination. Allow me to use again the plural we when I refer to the series of actions that we took to review, approve, and see new businesses coming to fruition. Whereas we refers to we staff, we council members, we collectively as a group. I'm so sorry for the pictures not coming to fruition. So this is the landscape of restaurants and retail that I was referring to. As you can see, the property marked with the star is part of the bigger picture of retail's restaurants offering a venue for people to come to Aurora and enjoy Aurora. But we didn't stop there. Our big picture didn't end there, and we, at the end of March, thank you. At the end of March, the city published and distributed a request for qualification, which was intended to solicit development proposals, development opportunities for city-owned properties up and down the Broadway corridor. And here is a piece of that RFQ depicting all the properties at play. By the time this RFQ was published, the developer, Frontier Development LLC, Conrad and Kurt that you just met, and the restaurateurs, Chris and Megan Curran, with Graceful Ordinary, solidified their already successful business relationship and decided to pursue the opportunity before you tonight. Here's a couple of pictures of the property at its current stage. They have had already noticed Aurora, and they have had recognized its strategic location within the region and the opportunities thereof. Is the beautiful Skinny Park and kind of underwhelming property, 7 South Broadway, not having any opening onto Skinny Park. But here is, let me ask you, what makes a community rich, referring to its abundance of options and cultural representations? What makes a city attractive? The ability to feature, showcase an asset and of unique businesses, cultures, and flavors. Unique because each restaurant is the representation of peculiar flavors, recipes, subcultures within the same country of origin. But this, along with proper due diligence, is finding the right expertise and ensuring the city's ROI, return on investment, lended to an handcraft partnership among the city, Frontier Development LLC, and the owners of the Graceful Ordinary. So, before you tonight are the developers, the restaurateurs. They are capable, expert, known players, and they have been able to renovate properties and manage properties, historic properties. But enough of my words, enough of me. Let's have the real stars shine tonight, and I would love to invite Conrad, Kurt, Megan, and Chris to enlighten you with what this restaurant will be able to bring to Aurora and how this restaurant will set himself aside from the competition.
You can use both if you like.
Yep. Good evening, I'm Megan Curran.
I'm Chris Curran. I'm Kurt Hurst.
Conrad Hurst.
Who wants to start?
I'll go ahead. So
We really appreciate the opportunity. We're excited about the opportunity to bring this concept to Aurora. We've really enjoyed working with your staff to get to the point that we're at now, and we're looking forward to the rest of the process. We're facilitators, and we help Chris and Megan execute and realize their vision, so I'm going to really leave the presentation up to them for the evening, but happy to answer any questions about the real estate or development side of things if there are any.
Yeah. So a little back history on us. We both met while we worked in Chicago. That was over 14 years ago. And we moved back out to the suburbs when our son turned 1. So from then on, we were commuting to the city. Pre-COVID, everything got shut down. And so we were living in the suburbs with no work in Chicago. And that was when, fortune would have it, we got connected with Kurt and Conrad Hurst, who had just closed on the former historic BEO Harris Bank in downtown St. Charles. They were looking for restaurant owners and operators. They had heard about us through the grapevine and mutual friends because we had actively been looking in St. Charles, Geneva, and Batavia to open up something a little closer to home. And then we were given this amazing opportunity. So we completely gutted, with their help, the entire building, and we opened in November of 2021. We have been very successful since then, and we have loved diving really deep into the community of St. Charles. So what we kind of take on as our restaurant group, good food, good drink, primarily an overall experience is what we like to deliver. And we also like to give back to the community that we are in. So we are actively involved with a lot of foundations and charitable organizations in St. Charles. Since we've opened, we have raised or either donated over $300,000 to local charities. We work closely with local organizations and youth groups. So seeing that youth group is amazing because we like to do something similar, but more focused on the hospitality and the culinary industry. So right now we have extensive programs that we work with a lot of our connections in Chicago to offer a lot of our young line cooks opportunities to stage in really well-known kitchens. So right now, one of our young guys, 18-year-old, Max, he is currently just accepted a job at Alinea, which is, for those of you who might be familiar or not, was at a time the 7th best restaurant in the world. Wow. So that's something that we like to do and like to give back in the communities that we are in. This is where we raise our family out here, so it's very important to us that wherever we do open up a restaurant, we're making sure that that community thrives and we're giving back.
Yeah, I think that throughout our time working with David and his staff, we've come to really believe in the mission of Aurora and the future of Aurora, and we feel very fortunate to be standing in front of you all today, even talking about this project. The concept, to get a little bit into that, is it's an Italian restaurant, but to Megan's point, what we do is really provide an experience. You know, our philosophy is you can get food and beverage anywhere. What sets us apart, ours is the overall experience. So, you know, right now I don't know of any restaurants that actively make their fresh pasta in-house. That's what we'll be doing. Wood-fired pizzas, but more than anything, our goal is to kind of transport diners to make them feel like they're walking into a little osteria in, you know, Venice or in other parts of Europe or other parts of Italy. We fell in love with the building because of the exposed brick on the interior, because of the layout, because of the opportunity to use Skinny Park for outdoor dining, which is an integral part of European style dining. And so, you know, looking at all the other opportunities that are going on in Aurora and the other establishments that are coming into Aurora, we're very excited to be at this point. You know, being one of the earlier opportunities, which we think is going to only grow more over the future. You know, a little bit about me as a chef, you know, because I think it is important. So I grew up in Ohio, but moved to Chicago in 2006. I opened up a restaurant called Blue 13 in 2008. It was a little 40-seat restaurant in River North, right on Ontario, next to the Ohio Feeder. It was critically acclaimed, but never financially successful. But it's where I kind of made my name for myself and bounced around to a lot of other restaurants. There I was fortunate enough to be nominated for 2 Jean Banchet Awards, which is kind of like the
Emmys.
like the Emmys for Chicago food scene. One for Rising Star Chef, one for Best Fine Dining Restaurant. Worked around at a number of different places. I was a guest chef at the James Beard House in New York City. And as such, you know, we try to instill a lot of those kind of dining aspects into what we do. We work closely with our team, being, you know, both former employees. Our goal is to create a better environment for our employees than maybe what has historically been there in the past. We care a lot about their ability to make a living wage. We care a lot about their ability to learn and grow. Like Megan said, we've sent a number of them into Chicago and working at the highest level there. We care about, one thing that we really care about is mental health. We work to make sure that our staff has access to affordable health care. So all things that we believe in really changing the hospitality industry for the better. And we want to do that here in Aurora as well. Because, you know, we think that it's important to continue the mission forward in everything that we do.
Anything else, gentlemen? Mr. Debo?
I'm sure we'll have,
Mr. Mayor, can I just say
Go
thank
ahead.
you for sharing
Alderman
your
Smith.
heart? This was just wonderful to hear this from you. We often hear people present to us about with the companies or restaurants that they're going to open up, but this was more than just a business for you guys. This is your heart, and you could feel that through the conversation you just gave us, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Debo, you just want to go over a few details, and then I'll take questions from the rest of the aldermen.
make this fast because I'm getting hungry too. Thank you, Alderwoman Smith, because that's exactly what we were trying to say in terms of why we were working with these people. Well, I want to go through the math of this deal. It's quite an interesting time to be doing a deal. The costs of construction are historically high. It's just, I'll give you some numbers as we talk about this deal, but it's historically high. It's incredibly difficult to do a deal right now. And in spite of that, we've been able to make these numbers work. I also want to mention that it's kind of exciting what they're talking about, their culinary work with students, because given what's going on in East Aurora and the new culinary center and all the stuff going in the West as well, there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity. And the Illinois Restaurant Association has been taking advantage of that, providing us interns. So there's just a lot going on in the city right now regarding young people and culinary opportunities, and I think this could help a great deal. Before I jump into the math and what's going on, I just want to give everybody a preview of what's coming this summer, because again, very often you will approve a deal and then it takes a while to get done, and maybe it takes a while because the costs are high, or maybe the interest rates are high, or approvals take a long time, or whatever. But within the next month, Pre-Mill will be opening their 2 shops right on Downer. The Stope Island Theater will be open within the next month and a half or so. The Leilani restaurant will be open in the next month. The restaurant at the Art Center, which I'm not privy to announce the name of the restaurant, we're going to leave that to ACA, but that restaurant will be open in time for the first show, the Full Monty, as well. 110 Cross should be open soon, as well as the Foreign Exchange Brewery. CL Enterprise, the historic building, that Vargas building, that should open up in the first quarter of 2025. There's also a lot of work going on in the conservatory. No tenant been named yet, but a lot of activity, and you'll see a lot more in the next month or two. As I said, the costs of construction have gone up 30 to 40%, and you could Google that and take a look at what's been going on, and it's really just incredible. Fortunately, in Aurora, our rents have gone up somewhat in a commensurate way. And we talked originally when we came here, maybe 5, 6 years ago, and talk about the gap. And the gap is always the difference between the cost and value. What's preventing this deal from happening without an incentive? We've always described that as the gap. And it was pretty easy when we talked about the gap when we were talking about a residential project, because we would say, okay, this residential project is worth X when it's completed, but the costs are Y. The costs are higher than the value. So that building, that terminal building, that Keystone building, would never get done unless that gap was filled. And we all talked about that. We were fortunate enough to have you approve those deals. Those properties are all 100% occupied. There's virtually no vacancy in the downtown. When you try to define the gap in a deal like this, a restaurant deal, it's a little bit different. Same principle, but a little bit different. It all starts with the user, the restaurateur. Real estate, the value of a real estate is driven by the user. In this case, the tenant here is a restaurant. And a restaurant could pay so much of their revenue for rent. There's a certain percentage. In restaurants, I'm not sure exactly how this intramural deal is working, but it may be 6% of the revenue. It could be a little higher or lower. These are all costs going in, including real estate taxes and so on. So that revenue, that income, really drives the rent. Now, in Aurora, when we started this process, 6 years ago, the average rent on a commercial building downtown was about $12 a square foot. That rent has climbed close to $20 a square foot and maybe even tipping above that. So that is your 50% increase, and that is the good news. And it's the good news because you've got to push those rents up to make the value so you could reduce this need to do something. It is good news when that rent goes up. That said, these rents have not gone up high enough in order to justify this deal without an incentive. And I'm going to give you some numbers so you'll understand that a little bit more clearly. This team will purchase this building for $100,000. That's roughly $30-something a square foot, it's 3,200 square feet. Roughly what we paid the city when we bought the John O's building on Downer, a building that needs a lot of work. This building will need about $1,650,000 to make this deal work. And if you add the $100,000 to the $1,650,000, you've got a total cost to do this project of about $1,750,000. If you divide $1,750,000 by the number of square feet, that equals about $550 per square foot. $550 a square foot. In simple math, if somebody needed to make a 10% return on their money, the rent would have to be $55 a square foot, not $20 a square foot. Hence the gap. Okay? If we use that $20 a square foot as an example and divide it by the $550, then the return to the investor would be about 3.5%. So this investor would be better getting a CD than investing in Aurora. What we did to fill the gap is this. We said, you pay for the building. You pay the market price for the building. And then the cost to renovate, this $1,650,000, we'll divide that with you. But the way we're going to divide it is we're going to get our money back And as Alex said when he talked about what we look for is a return on investment. And that's a very important parameter. This is not a matter of just giving money away. This is a matter of investing and getting our money back and making a return. The way we divided this deal is we took half of that 827, it's about $413,000, and we call that a forgivable loan. It's a loan that we're making. And the way we're going to get paid back is by the food and beverage and the food and beverage taxes and the sales taxes, which is roughly 4%. And that should produce about $60,000, $70,000 a year. And that will pay us back this $400,000 in, let's say, 6 years. And your RDA talks about no more than 8 years. So if for some reason this money is not paid back to the city at that time, then the developer will refund us the difference. So half of that money will come back as a loan. The other half comes back this way. Right now, the city owns the building and receives no real estate taxes on this building. The real estate taxes should be about $3,000, and it is in a TIF, about $3,000. The incremental real estate taxes, the difference of what is projected, is about $21,000. So I'm sorry, so it's $21,000. So the difference between what the taxes will be versus what they should be, $3,000. Right now it's zero because we're not getting anything, but what it should be now is $3,000. The difference between the 21 and the $3,000 is about $18,000. We will now get that $18,000. And that $18,000 as the numerator divided by the other half of that loan, that $413,000, gives the city a 4.5% return. So there's two ways to look at it. Either we could look at it that after the first loan is paid back, then the money that we're getting, that $60,000, $70,000 a year, will go to pay back the second half. Or you could simply looking at as an investment. Chris Minnick is here and he'll tell you that when the city invests, getting a 4.5% return is a good return. That's an arbitrage opportunity for us because we could take a lower return than the developer. So I didn't want to get too far in the weeds. But the takeaway really is that we are filling a gap, a necessary gap that has to happen for this deal to move forward. Quite frankly, it is actually the minimum. Even with this, we are not talking about large returns for this developer, and he's right here behind me, and we could talk about that. And for us, it's an opportunity not only to have this great restaurant team here, but also to make an investment, a positive investment for the city. So with that, I'll open it up.
Did the investors do you want to add any more to that?
No, David did a great job.
Yeah, David did a very good job. Do we have any questions from the alderman? And just let me, one more question. What year was this building, was that structure built, David? I saw that black and white picture there. It's had to be at least sometime.
Early 1900s.
Early 1900s.
Yeah.
So it's over 100 years old.
Yeah.
All right. Questions? Alderman Lesh.
Thank you. Primarily, most of these will be for Mr. Debo, but you had mentioned that ACA's looking to fill a space for a restaurant. Is that still Byland Social that they're looking to fill?
Yes, that's the building.
So we have someone going in there?
Yes.
I know that's unrelated to this agenda.
No,
item,
but we did some research before, and they didn't want us to announce it. The deal's been worked on for the better part of 7 months.
And then with respect, somewhat thinking about market analysis, also another Italian restaurant was supposed to go into Hobbs. Is that still scheduled to go in?
Into the Hobbs, yes.
Okay. And that was one of the three, if you looked on your screen, that was one of the 3 restaurants they had listed
Yes.
there. One of the 3 Italian restaurants.
Okay, so we're going to have now 3 Italian restaurants. Is that?
We are, and again, I would, if you'd like to.
Actually, Mr. Debo, I asked that exact same question. If you would please answer how you answered and talk about St. Charles and how you differentiate from these other 2.
So when we think of a concept, we think of a lot of different variables. So the actual building itself determines what concept will fit well in there. The community and the local community depends on what we're going to put in there, and also the size, how many tables we can fit. bar, all these things go into what concept will actually translate. We feel very strongly that you kind of have to work, it's like a puzzle, and you put all these pieces together to get the big picture. If you have a concept and you try and force it into a space or place, it typically feels off. It feels off to the guests. It struggles for a bit, and you never really understand quite why it doesn't work out, other than it was never meant to be there. So we thought very long and hard about the concept that we were going to put into 7 South Broadway, and we do feel that while it is Italian-inspired cuisine, it is not going to be similar to the other 2 Italian concepts that you have here, because again, what we deliver is the overall experience. And we're pretty adept at making sure that other sources of revenue are always coming in. So as Chef had mentioned earlier, we are going to have live pasta being made. That will be viewable for all the guests when they come in, so that way you can kind of see it. We also plan on selling that as well during the day for people to take home. So there will be a carryout option, in addition to pastries, breads, things of that nature, that they will also be able to enjoy while they're dining. We also plan on having a craft cocktail program that, you know, pre and post theater drinks people can come in and enjoy. So Italian, yes, is the cuisine, but the overall experience and what we're trying to deliver is the big picture that we're trying to focus on. And we felt very strongly, even knowing that there were going to be other Italian concepts, or that there is currently one, that it would still translate really, really well, and particularly to the typical people that are drawn to our brand. So that's what we want to put forth. During the day, we're going to have lunch options that are a little bit more family friendly and affordable, and also, you know, business luncheon friendly. We plan on doing a lot of community-driven events to kind of also utilize Skinny Park and that Water Street Plaza to make sure that guests are drawn to that area, not just for us, but to that area in general for the entire community. So when people get there, we want them to see that this is a place that they should continue to come visit, not just for us, but for all the amazing things that can be in that area. We also feel very strongly, I know your one operator is already a mainstay in Aurora, and that is something that they already have their guest loyalty, and they're going to do amazing things with that, and we won't touch that. That's something where their guests are going to continue to dine with them regardless of what opens in the area, and that's wonderful. And that, as operators, is another reason why we were drawn to the city in itself, because we would like to grow and expand upon that. So everything that's already pre-existing, we're just looking to expand upon that. And I believe the Trattoria is going to be more large-scale events. Is that correct, Alex?
Yes.
So again, we are going to be, it's a little smaller of a, you know, footprint that we've got at 7 South Broadway. So we're just looking to maximize the overall experience to make sure at all times of day, we're drawing people in there. I hope that helps.
It does. And sir, talk specifically about, you know, the 3 restaurants, 3 Italian restaurants in St. Charles.
So if you're familiar with downtown St. Charles at all, there are on the other side of the river, there are 3 Italian restaurants within 500 feet of each other. There's Gia Mia, there's Francesca's Miyamoto, and there is Zaza's.
It shares an actual patio.
You know, with Gia Mia. If you look in downtown Geneva, the B&G Group, which owns Gia Mia, has 3 Italian restaurants on the same street within 2 blocks of each other. It is one of the most well accepted styles of cuisine. It's something that a lot of people understand and enjoy. And I think from a cuisine standpoint, just to kind of bring it all back to a close, you know, my background is in French and Italian cooking. It's where I started my career, and ours will be much more traditional Italian cuisine that you would find in Italy, as opposed to kind of the Americanized Italian cuisine that you find at most of the Italian restaurants, frankly, anywhere in the area. So
Thank you, sir. Great. Alderman Franco.
So I got a couple comments and questions. So let's start out with the number of Italian restaurants. I don't see too many Mexican restaurants closing in Aurora. We got dozens of them. They're all doing fine. So that's not even a thing. I grew up in Berwyn, which is about a quarter the size of Aurora, we had dozens of Italian restaurants, so that's not even a thing. And the fact that you mentioned about Geneva and St. Charles is spot on. The other thing I would like to mention too is, or the question I would like to ask is that we have 100 to 110 seats in the building, and our estimate is to make 1.5 million in sales. Is that a low estimate for that number of seats? Because I know that has to equate somehow.
I'm going to let them answer, but I will say, don't forget, we've got a lot of that outdoor seating as well, so.
Well, right.
So the way that we always put together a business plan is worst case scenario, right? Because again, things I've learned from failing in the past, right? Were to make sure that this concept can work even at what we think is probably the bare minimum. And so that's kind of where we wrote it. You know, I'm also friendly with Bernie, who owns Craft Urban, and kind of discussing with him where he's been at during this process. You know, we feel comfortable that that's a low estimate, but also want to have realistic expectations going into it and make sure, you know, this concept is viable. We don't open restaurants to be open for 5 years, get our money and get out. You know, our goal is we're planting roots here. We want our restaurants to be around far longer than we are. You know, if our children want to take them over, then we want that to be something that they can do. Not that we're trying to push that, but, you know, it's an opportunity for them. So, you know, we're not looking to make money and get out. We're looking at the long term and how long can we be here, and can we be here forever, so.
So then I got one final comment. I've been to your Graceful Ordinary a couple times, outstanding. I happen to be married to a chef who owned 2 Italian restaurants. She couldn't be more excited about you guys coming with Italian restaurant. It's about everything else that's happened in Aurora. This is the number one thing she's looking forward to. So, you know, I know Italian food because I grew up with it, but in her classification, when she stuffs stuff, that speaks volumes to me. So thank you for coming here. That's so good for Aurora, because you do have the reputation. And that's really going to help us put us on the map with a number of other things we're doing here. So thank you for that.
And Alderman Masiacos?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to say, I have 2 things, but one, I'm just going to piggyback off Alderman Franco here real quick. I don't know if everybody's ever heard of 2 little communities in the South Loop called Greektown or Little Italy. I mean, to have 3 or more Italian restaurants here, I don't think that's a real problem, personally. Just got to dream and just let the dream take care of itself. But if I could have a question for Mr. Debo real quick, I don't even know if it's an issue or not, but just for a little bit of clarity in terms of numbers, does the Finish Line grant, would that be applicable to this
No.
deal?
Not
or
included in this deal.
All right, can it be?
I don't think if we approve this deal as is, we don't need it.
Okay, all right. Down the road,
The program's not active right now. So for instance, again, assume that you agree to transfer it over, they're going to have a period that it's open, like a 30-day period, and then probably toward the 3rd quarter, 4th quarter.
So there's a possibility that might come into play down the road.
But we don't need it the math is the math. We don't need it right now.
Okay. Because I love images, right? And there was an image when Mr. Manila was speaking in regards to, I think that was Skinny Park, or no? With a pergola, trees, maybe a big screen. Is there additional investment that we're looking to do for Skinny Park as well down the road, maybe 5-10 years down the road, especially after we get some of this money back in investment? What's with the image and
you know, maybe Jason Bauer or Trevor's here to maybe could talk more about that. But at minimum, we're going to prepare Skinny Park for this restaurant. We've got to talk with the entrepreneurs here as to what that means, because right now Skinny Park was done, you know, kind of generically. Now we're going to try to tailor it, so I'm sure there's going to be some more work that the city's going to do.
All right, so we're going to have some more work.
And Alderman, to answer your question, we will do whatever we need to do to make the improvements to ensure the success of our restaurants going in.
Right, and I want to make sure the expectations of the restaurateurs are there too. Are we going to start looking at it within a year or 2, or we're going to wait till they investment?
Immediately.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
And you know, let me just add before calling Alderman Smith. What we have, with other communities don't have, is 500,000 people a year that come downtown, and that's low estimates. The 500,000 people a year that just come to our Paramount series alone. But when you add the River Edge Park, and you add Copley Theater, and you add our brand new theater that we're going to have, the Stope Island Theater, we're going to have more than 1,000 shows a year. And starting in 2026, these shows will go all year round at the Paramount, adding the Disney shows that will be added. So the reason, and I believe Tim Rader and always, ask questions and does, poll research about where people eat before they come to the show. And it's St. Charles, it's Naperville, Geneva, and the reason they say that they don't come to Aurora is because we don't have a number of options. They don't have enough options. We only got a few restaurants here or there. They get tired of eating those. The more we expand our options, the more people will stay here and spend their money in the city of Aurora and capture those 500,000 to 600,000 people that are always wandering around in our downtown. Alderman Smith?
Well, you took some of my thunder away about the 500,000 people and the additional options.
I'm sorry about that. You can have it back.
For a
You
city.
can say it again.
And also, you started answering the question about Skinny Park. It sounds like the details of that have not been worked out yet. So I guess I'd like to know your vision on how Skinny Park will work for you. Is there going to be a side access? How much space we're going to put out there? How many tables will be out there? I'd like to get some kind of an idea of what we're thinking about out at Skinny Park.
So I'd like to kick off by saying that the city is willing and has accounted for any considerable actions to renovate, revamp Skinny Park. So if you can picture the pathway, the walkable pathway, that would be right now sits next adjacent to 7 South Broadway to the building. That pathway will be moved more central to Skinny Park so that outdoor patios will be facilitated south of 7 South Broadway and north of 13 South Broadway. Why? Because the vision is down the road, 13 South Broadway could and will become another possible restaurant. So Skinny Park will be just full of life.
Right.
And we have accounted in our timeline Skinny Park renovation as well. So Skinny Park could and will be done simultaneously, but not impeding and interrupting the construction of 7 South Broadway.
So we have like a garage door type thing at the venue. Are we in a situation where that would be able to occur in this building as well?
There will be access, to the outside.
Yeah, our goal is to put something a little bit more historically accurate or older feeling to go along with the overall vibe of the restaurant and the feel of the restaurant. We've had preliminary discussions with the historical committee, and the feedback that we've gotten from them is that largely the building doesn't look like it did originally, so there isn't a whole lot of issue with putting in the things and the types of items that we talked to them about putting in, or the style of the items that we talked about doing. They're very much in favor of in our preliminary discussions. So I think based off our discussions with Alex and David, we do need to go through the historic committee to get all approval on all those things. But yeah, our goal is to put openings in the side.
Thank
and
you.
to make it look historically accurate with the building.
Thank you. And I'm on board with my colleagues. A third Italian restaurant is gonna do just fine down here, because we need places for these people to come when they come to our city, and the more we have, the more that are gonna come before the show and stay after the show. So,
Alderman Bate?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the great presentation and all the details that you added today. I wanted to check if you could provide us a draft plan or something before City Council, how you want it to look. How is it going to look from inside?
We can talk with we haven't finalized the architecture agreement with the company we plan to use. I don't know if they could get that in time, but we can try.
And I don't know that we need it by next week, but just at some point when you do finalize, just right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my second question
Go
is,
ahead.
what will be the hours of operation?
So right now, we're planning on 6 days a week with the possibility of opening a 7th. Once we see how busy, or if there's a slower day, then that might be a day off, just because we do like to encourage work-life balance for our staff. But if it's worth it, we'll be open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner. with later hours on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, or any evening that there's a show, so that we can accommodate those walk-ins for post-theater drinks and snacks or dessert.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Lash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to say I didn't mention earlier the commitment to healthcare and living wage. Appreciate that in your business profile. I do want to dig into this a little bit further and keep it on unfinished, but I had a couple of questions for Mr. Debo. You mentioned the $18,000 in potential property taxes, but you also said it's in a TIF. What TIF and when does it expire? I should know it, but.
It's Chris Minnick, Chief Financial Officer for the city. I believe it's TIF number 10, which was established somewhere around 2020, I believe. So it does have a while to run yet. I'll double check those numbers and I'll make sure that I have the proper TIF and the proper dates.
And are the resources in that TIF already committed to a different project, or could they be used for this project?
Well, they could be used to reimburse the city for any initial costs as they come in over time. Any TIF eligible costs we could utilize to reimburse and kind of repay ourselves for the investment that we're making in the property.
Which is, to be clear, is infrastructure and not actually the build-out of that restaurant. Is that correct?
As a rehab, there's a little bit more leeway. Under new construction, it has to be strictly infrastructure, but there is a little bit more leeway under the TIF statutes for rehabilitation of properties.
And my final thing, thank you, Mr. Minnick. My
Yeah.
final thing is just I agree with those that want to see a rendering, but also maybe what we're going to do with Skinny Park, and I'm sure that they've been made aware there's a back entrance, a Water Street entrance to this building, so even during Broadway reconstruction, they'll still have access.
Yeah, and seating next to what's going to go on over there on Broadway too, in the Vargas building, so it could just be all one continuous as well. And I just also wanted to mention everybody, and I've seen this happen in many towns in Illinois. Once the restaurants come and people are there, so you got the Paramount and you got everything else going on downtown. The restaurants come, and then it's easier to fill out some of the retail. So it's a waterfall, and we are, the other real attempt this year is to get as many of the retailers in as well. So it really, once you have people and they go to the show and they walk around, then they might want to go to a shop and so on. So, that's the hope. It's really an anchor for everything going forward.
Another question?
Yeah, sorry, I figured while we have the restaurant owners, what's the average plate cost for a couple? Average ticket, maybe what you're doing in St. Charles, what you anticipate here?
So what we do in St. Charles is about $65 per person. That is a little bit higher end than what we're talking about here, and purposefully. We're looking at something a little bit more reasonable, something that can be any night of the week kind of establishment, whereas it doesn't feel necessarily like it's a special occasion dining. I think what we have in our projections is about $40 per person on the high end for dinner, and I think lunch was somewhere in the $30 per person range.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other, Alderman?
My question is, how many
Garza.
employees you think they want to have?
So employees is kind of going to depend on amount of business. But to give you an idea, we currently employ 65 people at the Graceful Ordinary. I don't necessarily think it'll be that many, but I would say closer to like the 40 range. I can't say for sure until we know kind of what business entails there. We usually start off with a number higher than what we probably need to make sure that our guest experience is what we're trying to offer and what we're doing training and things like that. And then we kind of work through and kind of find the best of the best, and they kind of stick around. But, I would say for a project this size, I would think probably in that 30 to 40 range.
Alderman Warman?
You want to work,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
you say you are the chef, right?
Yeah.
So is another ones or just you?
No, there are more. There are plenty more. My role changes as we start to expand as a restaurant group. More overseeing each restaurant, creating menus, guiding the vision, but also moving more into operations in the business side of it. but maintaining the culture of our restaurant group and each individual restaurant, which is really what gives the restaurant its personality.
But as an award-winning chef, you tend to attract other award-winning chefs or those of your caliber that come work for you, right?
We tend to attract talent, right? We've been fortunate enough, and I think our reputation and where we've come from attracts especially young talent who's looking to learn and grow. Like we were mentioning earlier, we've had a number of very young men and women come through our kitchen and through our front of the house team who have gone on to, who wanted to see, can I make it at a higher level, and then we help them move on to with connections that we still have in Chicago to move and grow. So,
Alderman Warman.
A couple of questions. So, timeline for, once everything's a go, like a rough opening date, do you think? I'm assuming it's not next week, maybe a little further down the road, but.
Yeah.
So we're targeting of late January, early February, 2025.
2025?
Yeah.
And then I just want to clarify too, this is probably for Mr. Debo. So the $413,000, that's going to be essentially repaid back by the sales tax that currently does not exist.
Sales and food and beverage tax.
Food and beverage tax, yeah, so it'll be paid back. And the additional $413,000, that's going to be.
Real estate taxes,
Real
which
estate tax,
does
okay.
not exist either.
Yeah, I just wanted, so nothing, I mean, it's zero and we're going to build into this. So up to 8 years to pay that back. And then it's.
And it should be,
yeah.
it should be before that, but just to give a little hedge
That's the
time.
timeline or whatever,
Yeah.
so. And then after that, then it's money in the city coffers, then, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so, I know we're gonna. You're exactly right. Well, I don't know. We is French. Oh, we all did. Yeah, we together.
We.
But and I think I need to tell the alderman here that we're a old city, 185 years old, and we kind of didn't have the kickstart that other cities around us had, younger cities that didn't have the old infrastructure we had. If we want to hold on and maintain any of this old, beautiful infrastructure that adds the charm that makes us Aurora, we're going to have to participate and help in the investment. Our investment is really an investment in ourselves. And not just an investment in their business, which will be great for the city of Aurora, but an investment in ourselves. So if we want people to come spend hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in the city of Aurora, we've got to be willing to have skin in the game. So in this particular case, we have a wonderful restaurateurs that many of us that have visited those restaurants know the caliber of their establishments. For them to be considering and wanting to come invest in Aurora, I think it's our obligation to make them successful, ensure their success, which in turn ensures our success. So all of this is going to go on unfinished because there's a few more questions that have to be asked. I look forward to having our council vote on this in the positive, and you open it up. So you said January, huh? I thought it was going to be sometime this year.
We're being realistic.
All right, I got you. But we look forward to you joining the Aurora family. But we'll continue this discussion next week at City Council, and I expect we'll have a positive vote on this. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, that concludes. Well, actually, we have one more item under new business. Madam Clerk, will you read that item under new business?
24-0381, a motion authorizing and directing the Chief Human Resources Officer to execute a settlement agreement on behalf of the city in workers' compensation claim number 186510671.
Consent.
With no objections, item going consent. That concludes new business. The next item on the agenda is Alderman's Corner, and this is 3rd Ward Alderman Masiacos presenting.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Here we go. Well, thank you very much. It is my turn. I want to thank Alderman Donnell for taking over last month and giving me an opportunity another month to work with my staff with Cynthia Alvarez, and I want to thank her very much too as well for helping put this together. The point of clicker. There we go. Well, the first slide, we're talking about some of these projects that are happening right now in our ward. We do have sewer separation projects and road resurfacing happening. A lot of this work the road resurfacing happened to the east side of our ward around Hometown, and also in part of our newer parts of the 3rd Ward there in the south of Ogden Avenue. And then we also have some nice sewer separation projects that are running very smoothly. I've been driving through pretty much every day. I want to thank engineering for what they're doing out there, and I see them out there every morning doing a great job, keeping an eye on things as well. We're continuing as well with sidewalk installments in our ward. We do have, I think what some of the older typical issues are in some of these older wards is that we have some missing dental sidewalk type of work, and continuing that infill, connecting the dots between sidewalks so people have continuity and walking their dogs or running or just riding on a bike path or creating their own path if there isn't a bike path there without having to worry about getting in the street. Something that's happening in our ward too with Rush Copley Hospital is Rush just recently announced that they're partnering up with the University of Texas Anderson Cancer Center here as well, and their efforts to battle cancer, and asking them to meet with me. We ended up working out, I think, with Rich Jacobs that they're going to meet with the entire aldermen and all the city council here, which I think is a pretty exciting thing too, and share with us exactly more about what they're doing here and looking at advanced clinical studies and integration and delivery of cancer care. Another thing that's happened in the ward recently as well, East Aurora, a big thank you to them. They didn't leave an empty lot or an empty building over there where their old administrative center was. They did build a new East Aurora Resiliency Education Center, and quite a center that it is. It's very exciting, very state-of-the-art, very modern, very high-end premium equipment and furnishings in there. Visited myself there. I was at the ribbon cutting, and I can't tell you the cafe bar that's there for the kids. Dance and yoga studio on the 2nd floor overlooking a neighborhood with all glass type of wall on one side to the exterior. One thing I didn't know is it has an esports center, which is an ability for gaming courses and competitions sanctioned by, Illinois State Board of Education, which is quite fantastic, and even know it existed myself. So it's great that it's in the 3rd Ward, and it's helping fill in a gap or something that before it became really a gap as well. So moving on, as we all know, Wheatlands Crossing is coming to the 3rd Ward. It's a 2-phase project. First project was kindly and appreciative of the City Council to support this coming forward, something that I worked on with Alderman Ed Bugg. I inherited a bit of it too. He had started working on it before the transition of the new boundaries. 57-acre development, 124 townhomes with the bike path. It's an exciting project with a little bit of commercial too on the corner, and looking forward to it. Looking forward to them starting breaking ground very soon. Also, 2nd annual Shred event with Wani Garza, and this year we also invited Alderman Brandon Tolliver, which he was happy to participate. We were kind enough not to let him pay for the whole thing with his excitement, so we shared the costs. Thank you very much. And it was very successful. We had better weather this year than we did last year.
You flipped the picture back, brother.
Pardon me?
You're off a picture. You flipped the picture back by accident. There you go.
Oh, all right, I'm pushing the wrong buttons here. All right, so that was a fun event, and of course, our volunteer of the year was there too, Mr. Curtis Sue. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun with my colleagues here. So. Last time I was here, I was talking to you about the opening of the At-Risk Mentoring Center out in Hometown community, and that has really turned into a real bright beacon there for them. Real exciting what they're doing there. I did mention when it first opened up that Mr. David Smith, once he gets his mind on something, he puts his foot straight down on the gas pedal and doesn't let go, and he really hasn't. So he's really done some beautiful things, and a lot of those are coming to fruition and blossoming very well. Including partnerships with other non-for-profits also that utilize the space. Fox Valley Christian Action, Boy Scouts, African Men of Unity have also used the space. He has partnered up with Northern Illinois Food Bank for food giveaways that happen on not a regular basis, but about twice a year. And also our community hometown group also meets there as well for their meetings as well. So, and one of the best things that I like about it is that they help out kids after school and provide tutoring and homework assistance. So, and job readiness programs for some adults. So that's very exciting what he's doing there also. Very, very happy for him. Very happy him and his wife and what they're doing together. They're a team. Something else we have here, I want to thank City Council, my colleagues, for approving the Third Ward Facade and Signage Improvement Grant Program. One of the first recipient of it is Hills Banquet. You can get an idea of the difference of the look, and even the before picture is even better than what it was before he bought it. But as we all know, he had a little challenge there with a fire, and he pretty much almost had to start from scratch on the inside. And he's getting ready to open very soon. He's very excited. I talked to him just a few weeks ago, and if not this month, he's planning on opening up in June for sure. So. And another program that we have here is the residential grant program with the Neighbor Project and Rebuilding Together Aurora. And this year, RTA actually just last week took care of 7 homes in the Third Ward, in addition to working, I think, in at least 2 other wards. I do want to thank a couple aldermen that showed up. Alderman Lash showed up with his equipment, his carpentry tools. And also Brandon Tolliver, I believe, showed up with Hartford Insurance Group as well. You were assigned to a Third Ward home. Very successful. A lot of seniors on Pearl as well, and a few on 6th. And they're very happy for the support and all the program provides here in our community. This one, real exciting to talk to you about. This is a graphic provided by our Public Works Department. Received a call this winter from a state rep informing me that there's $4 million set aside for dredging and improving Mastodon Lake, which is long overdue. Couldn't be better news. Very excited, and I believe staff is very excited as well. And hopefully we can lasso in those dollars sooner rather than later and get this project going. Really exciting to see what they're looking to do, which includes maybe a water feature and improving the edgings and maybe some more rocks on the edge for more stability of the shores of that. And they've really put some thought into this plan, so I'm very impressed with what they're trying to do out there, as opposed to a simple dredge there with Mastodon Lake, which it needs for sure as a minimum core out there in our Phillips Park area. Something that we all know about and has already been presented here with the $1 million check from Congressman Bill Foster is for improvements in Hill Avenue, Montgomery Road. And as I believe we talked about when we presented the check, it's an exciting project. It's a first step in a multi-step phase to improve this area. And a lot of the residents have been talking about improvements here in this intersection since I first became an alderman and in hometown and all of Chatham Grove. So very welcomed dollars from my end as well, I'm sure, as staff and administrations, and looking forward to the fruition and completion of this endeavor here in this first phase. Something that we continue doing year after year for 11 years, and we're going to do it again this summer, is the Curbside Appeal Award that we've had. This program has been very successful and has provided a lot of positive residuals in our community. Not only do homes that get recognized continue to take care of the property owners, take care of their homes, but you start seeing, and even the neighbors themselves tell me that there are other, the people who receive a landscape award tell me that their neighbors start working on their homes too. So a lot of popularity, a lot more challenges in regards to picking which homes are to be selected by the committee, and I think it's creating some nice friendly competition. So over the years, and like I said, we're going to continue doing that as well for this summer. And we're getting close to the end here. A few fun shots of things that happened in the ward. National Night Out, of course. We have another one coming up, and I know staff has already started working with the community groups to try to plan for National Night Out for this August. But again, in a hometown, another Easter extravaganza. Thank you to David Smith and everything he's doing out there. Again, one of the pictures there, a hometown food distribution day out there with volunteers that included Citizens Police Academy residents and also some of our APD helping maintain order. And also helping direct traffic there in Hometown Center. But again, David Smith, powerhouse, doing great things out there. And also, of course, believe it or not, this was a picture of last summer of some budding entrepreneurs. So selling lemonade, no powder, homemade, that's what they told me. It tasted fantastic. And I think they're just trying to cover their costs probably at 50 cents. So Mr. Minnick, I hope you don't have concerns about sales tax there. But it's great to see that we have, and those are the two little girls that are doing it, that do it themselves, and they said that they're looking to do it again next year. So it's a lot of fun. Drive by and see those types of things happening in the Third Ward. Another, last but not least, few things that are happening at Phillips Park as well. A little bit more fun, I would say, as well as informatory. Aurora Noons Lions Club getting together for Virgin Screening Initiative Gathering in the Phillips Park area, in the pavilion, bringing light to needs of children in our community when it comes to their vision. It's been a vision of theirs and something they continue to try to get out in the community and share the word. So. And then the other thing that happens every year out there that's a really fun favorite for our kids is Representative Kifowit's annual Kids Expo that brings out almost probably every agency in Kane County, including Aurora. We have our staff that's out there too, and some not-for-profits, and it's very exciting. And the thing that kids love always, and I don't think a picture got in here, is the large red emergency response helicopter that shows up every year too. It's really a fun favorite for the kids and really exciting. So it's great to see that the park's utilized and that people would like to show up and learn more too. It's not just to have fun. So with that said, and the weather, I hope I didn't take too long. I know everybody probably wants to get home, and we're past that 7 o'clock emergency response time concern by our EMA. And Mayor, that's about it, and thank you very much for everybody's time.
All right, great job for all the work, hard work in Ward 3. Appreciate that presentation, Alderman Mesiacos. Great job. Looks good. All right, that concludes all the business for the city of Aurora today.
Motion to adjourn.
There's been a motion
Second.
by Alderman Franco, seconded by Alderman Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is hereby adjourned.